Welcome back to International 110. Today we're going to talk about Chapter 13, Global Human Resources. So this is how I get staff, people, to work as I go overseas. So the first thing the book talks about is how are we going to staff it? And there's three general ways to staff this or have it led. There's ethocentric, which is basically I do a replication of what I've done at home. I take my business at home and I simply replicate it overseas. If that's the case, most likely you're going to want a parent country national to run it, because all I'm doing is I'm taking what I have in my country, replicating it in a foreign country. Probably the best staff person to do that is somebody who's worked in the parent country. It's called a PCN, parent country national. The next strategy would be to have a polycentric strategy of staffing. That's where what I want to do is I want to take the firm I have, say in the United States, and I want to localize it. I want to modify it to the, let's say we're going to Brazil. I want to modify it to what's done in Brazil. In that case, it probably would make sense to do the staffing with a host country national, somebody from Brazil who understands how to localize that business. First one was how to replicate. That I would want a parent country national. If I'm trying to localize it to make it specific to the country I'm entering, I probably want a host country national. The last strategy would be sort of a geocentric. That would be where I would say, let's look at our staff around the world and let's find the best available person to put in place perhaps some global standardization, and that I would look for the best available staffing person around the world. So if I'm trying to do home replication, I'll probably select a parent country national. If I'm looking for localization, I'll probably look for a host country national. If I'm looking at a geocentric strategy, I would probably pick the best available person around the world. Now, once we've selected that person, let's understand the role of an expat and what their training needs to be. So first of all, they're a strategist, right? When they go into the foreign country, they want to make sure that the people in that new country, let's say again we're going into Brazil, that they understand the interests of the multinational enterprise headquarters that we're representing. They get a perspective of that. Secondly, of course, that person needs to be the daily manager running that business in country. If I'm sent to Brazil to run an operations for pick a U.S. company, I've got to be a strategist, but I also have to be a daily manager, run the business. I also need to be a bit of an ambassador. I need to understand and build relationships of the people in Brazil, the key power structure in Brazil, and be an ambassador for that. I need to train because I'm not going to stay there forever. Over time, I'm probably going to be relocated back to the United States. So I need to be thinking about who am I going to train to be my replacement. Most likely that'll be an in-country person that'll replace me. Last point is training. This is not a simple thing to be an effective expat because you've got a lot of cultural things against you. So a tremendous amount of investment into the training of an expat and picking the right person to be an expat. Compensation of expats, there's two ways. First of all, it's the going rate of what it costs in the country. That's generally not done because you wouldn't get a person to really relocate just for what's paid there. Normally, it's the balance sheet approach. That's where lots of extra costs are added in, so that the compensation for that expat is very, very, very good, and because their role is something that's critical to the success. Finally, they make sure they manage the labor relations abroad. So that's Chapter 13. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a good week.